Master, hello? It is Saturday, the 12th of October, 2024, and we greet you well, wherever in the world you are listening to us, watching us, hearing us on the Jamaican Diaspora live online on Power 106 FM. We thank you very much for tuning in and being a part of the experience. We want to give you the usual update, just a quick update because our hands are full. So just to get an idea of what's been happening for those who like to monitor what's happening and what happens in Jamaica, whether weekdays or weekends or otherwise. So we're going to bring that into the fold right now and give you a quick roundup of happenings in Jamaica. So we're going to start with the lead story in today's Gleaner. Smith, invest in more teachers, not pastors. JTA president criticizes proposal for clergymen to fill in as religious educators. And so that is the lead story. I Dare You is another of the main stories. Opposition senator challenges government to repeal illicit enrichment clause in Corruption Prevention Act. Teen among 4 dead in separate motor vehicle crashes. And there's a picture of a fire engine and the vehicles that were involved. Our condolences to family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, all those impacted by these horrific crashes and collisions. And the Gleaner tells us 2,000 fatalities recorded in nearly 6 years on the nation's roads. We have to do better. Protecting those who protect us is another of the stories in today's Gleaner. No eggless Christmas. Egg Farmers Association promises adequate supply for holiday winter tourist season. St. Elizabeth Fire Superintendent urges vigilance as hurricane season still active. The trial of Kahal Yahweh members rescheduled to November. So that's a snapshot. Now what we want to do is to share with you a couple of blogs featuring Leo Gilling of the Jamaica Diaspora Task Force Action Network. And that should round out the first hour of the program. And then, but we have two very important, specially invited guests waiting in the wings to join us. So we are going to oblige naturally. And so that's what's going to happen in a matter of a few. In fact, yes, so we're going to just make sure we have these on standby. But in the meantime, we want to say hello, welcome, and good morning to as I said, two very special people. And right now we want to introduce you to Dr. Claire A. Nelson, PhD, Ideation Leader and Managing Director of the Futures Forum. She wears a few hats actually. And she's going to be telling us about a very significant, alongside Mr. Sharp, Andrew Sharp, she will be telling us about a very important conference in Grenada, and that is coming up in just a moment. So let's get, I think she's already on the line, Dr. Claire Nelson. Do we have her yet? No? Okay. All right. We'll work that out in just a moment. This is the Jamaican Diaspora live online on Power 106 FM. And we are standing by here on the Jamaican Diaspora Live Online. So It's the Caribbean Disability Conference that is the focus, concluding the impactful event, focusing on critical issues of inclusion and empowerment. The inaugural Caribbean Disability Conference successfully concluded its first day of deliberations at the Radisson Grenada Beach Resort in St. George's, Grenada, titled Community Access, Empowerment, and Inclusion. The conference brought together diverse voices to explore pressing issues around disability and inclusion in the Caribbean. The event, running through to October 13, 2024, is being staged by the Authentic Caribbean Foundation in collaboration with the Ministry of Social Security and Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs, and the Ministry of Education, Grenada, the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, the UK Aid, and Generation Grenada Foundation, Incorporated. And the Authentic Caribbean Foundation, ACF, and its partners examined the CDB report, which we'll tell you more about in a moment.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now.
Coming up to 15 minutes past 6 o'clock in the morning here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica, which means it's 4:15 a.m. in Los Angeles, California.
Tune in to Power 106 FM for the longest running religious calling program on Jamaican radio, The Prayer Line. Join Pastor Errol Hay and his team as they offer spiritual guidance.
Oh, yes, because hello? Yes, sorry about that. Okay. All right, so you're good to go. Okay. Hold on, please. Thanks a lot for staying with us here on the Jamaican Diaspora Live Online on Power 106 FM. And we're going to get some more details now on the conference in Grenada and related matters. And so we say hello, good morning, and welcome to Andrew Sharp of Authentic Caribbean Foundation. Good morning, Mr. Sharp. How are you?
How you doing?
Uh,
After very busy conference, especially today is the last day. Every morning you have to get up early and head out, and then coming back late in the afternoon. But it has been tremendously productive, amazing productive, powerful. To see all persons of disability in the room. That's how powerful it was, Dervan.
yes.
No one was left behind.
And that's how it's supposed to be, isn't it?
You got that, Dervan. You got that.
Mhm.
You got that correct.
So give us a bit of the background. Once again, just remind those who have perhaps forgotten about the the mission, the purpose. You wouldn't forget those because you do your work. But just in general terms, for those who would want to be reminded about the Authentic Caribbean Foundation.
Thank you so much, Dervan. So I really appreciate. Now, this is not just the first time we've been speaking online and you're interviewing us. So we appreciate this. The Authentic Caribbean Foundation C3, based in Boston, Massachusetts, support and transform the lives of persons with disability through health and education. But the most important thing are the kids. So we support those kids with disability, providing educational training, providing health support equipment, wheelchair walkers, and also ensure that they do not forget their heritage for those who are living here in the diaspora.
Mhm.
So I'm really, really happy to see how we have grown, over 11 years now in operation and just keep giving back to the Caribbean, including Jamaica.
Mhm.
Utilizing resources from the diaspora to improve the lives of persons with disability in the Caribbean.
And I get the impression that the support has been quite palpable.
Oh, Dervan, I'm telling you, I must say thanks to God and thanks to the team that I've been working along with. And another thing, just, you know, being around positive, being around movers, persons who will move the agenda forward. And I'm delighted, like Dr. Claire Nelson and my team that has been working on the conference, including Stafford Grant and many others, which I will, outline during our conversation.
Mhm. Right. So, can you give us an idea of the how the conference has evolved and what happens
Absolutely,
from here on?
absolutely, Dervan. The saying, I have a dream,
Yes.
and that dream was to see how I could have unite. I'm always a one Caribbean person. And you know that, Dervan,
Yes.
and a lot in the diaspora is familiar with that. How can we strengthen the one Caribbean brand? And that was my dream, to pull everybody together. Sometimes we work in silos. So this dream was embraced by my team, and we started to work on it. And then we looked at which of the Caribbean islands are moving forward in disability, who have been very supportive to us. And that was the island of Grenada. It was great to meet with the Prime Minister during the UN United Nations conference, and to push and advocate the agenda of the support for persons with disability. And in many years, we've been working with various Caribbean islands, including Grenada, the OECS country. And Grenada was so pleased that we chose Grenada to have the first Caribbean Disability Conference in this magnitude, where we had over 24 Caribbean countries, including the United States, UK, and Canada, in attendance. And greatest part about it, nothing with us without us. And we did it hybrid. COVID taught us that we must stop do things in person alone. So we did it hybrid. So we utilize the new 50th celebration of Grenada, up, and up. So we went up and up because it was hybrid. You could have joined hybrid, which is online, and you could have joined in person. And that's how we started out. The importance of the report from CDB was critical. CDB heard about the conference, and CDB, which is the Caribbean Development Bank, came on board and partnered with us. I must say, I have to big up the Ministry of Education, because they were the one who advised CDB that we were having this conference. And coming out of the United Nations conference and the Summit of the Americas, it highlighted the importance of working with civil society and social actors. So I was so pleased to see the multilateral and the government partnering with us to make this conference the success, not just only to talk, but also for implementation, working along with these government and multilateral to make changes in the region.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided that I would use the resources, persons who have been working within the Caribbean, some of the civil society, some of the disability associations, and the governments to come to the conference. So when we talk about Ministry of Education from Guyana, Ministry of Education from Turks and Caicos, Jamaica Disability Association, the Deaf Association, the Amputee Association, and all of those, we all came together. I reached out to them, and it was like, what we say, a glass of lemonade, thirst, the quench of the voices of persons with disability that needed to be heard. And we were so happy that all of them came on board and joined the conference to give their voices, and not only give the voices, to start implementation. And this conference is the start of implementation for the region, for changes, for improvement for persons with disability. Also, what came out of it, which we were really shocked, and we didn't expect it. When I created the agenda, I told myself, I said, we didn't want to sit down in a conference room and be talking all the time. So I created field trips. I created a field trip. And the field trip was to into the county.
Sorry, we lost you at the field trip.
Infrastructure.
We lost you at the field trip. The field trip you were saying? Yes. Yes, hearing you now.
Yes. And we created the field trip and went out into the community and the areas of need to look at the infrastructure, not knowing that there was a UK aid, UK SIF program which brought out the studies on assessing the infrastructure for accessibility, barriers to inclusion. What are some of the barriers to move around in a wheelchair if you have a walk, if you're a blind person? So we went to the school, we went to the airport, we went to the terminal, and we went downtown, and then we went into a community. And that was the 2 days. Yesterday was the field trip, although it was extremely hot coming from Boston with a cold climate. It was so productive because other islands who were there learned stuff, and those who were from Grenada learned a lot, not just the negative, but also the positive. Because sometimes we look at the negative and do not look at the positive, and we learn it from each other. And that's what it needs to be: one Caribbean, one policy, everybody sharing information. And the first day was powerful because we had a minister of education represented by Judy Hall. We had the minister, Ms. Nelma Thomas from Ministry of Health. And what a great day to start the conference on World Health Day. And we also had the Minister of Social Security and our powerhouse, two of them, Dr. Floyd Morrison, Professor Dr. Floyd Morrison, who is a champion for disability, and Dr. Claire Nelson, who is a futurist in terms of where we want to go, where do we see ourselves in the next century for disability. And I'm saying I'm so proud that, again, I won't stress, it is important for the collaboration. It is important for the government to work hand in hand with civil society.
One moment, please. Hold it there for a moment, please.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
6:30 in the morning here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica, which means it's 8:30 a.m. in Hamilton, Bermuda.
Hey, Mas Reggie, you tried it, but I'm tell you to buy. You mean the new one that Caribbean chemicals carry? Yes, sir. The buy it from the farm store around the corner. It's the most effective low facility ammonium burner on the market, and it is safe to spray between crop rows using a spray shield. With the Suko, when you forgot to tell the farmers who bought this right now. Lifeline herbicide, a non-selective contact herbicide that controls hard to kill weeds like nutgrass and whitehead. Be safe, read the label, wear your PPE. Lifeline, distributed by Caribbean Chemicals and available at farm stores island-wide.
In tribute to Jamaicans in the diaspora, wherever you go, you shine. You make us proud. Despite our challenges at home, you never give up on us. Our sincere thanks. Wherever you go, shine. You need to know. Shine.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on the Jamaican Diaspora live online on Power 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm, and online Dr. Nelson still on the line? Hello? All right, maybe she had to step away for a moment. In the meantime, let's continue the conversation with Andrew Sharp of the organization Authentic Caribbean Foundation. Are you there, Mr. Sharp?
Yes, I am, Dervan.
Right, good, thank you. So, in terms of the presenters, I think you had referenced Senator
Dr. Floyd Morris.
Yes.
Senator Dr. Floyd Morris, who is a strong advocate and the CARICOM repertoire on disability. And, he told this story. He touched persons because, all of us can become, you know, have a form of disability. Sometimes we are not born with it. So it is vital that we take it serious and we respect those who have disability. And he told his story, which was very powerful and impactful and touched a lot of persons in the room. And, he also spoke about the importance of, moving forward, making changes. One of the things me and Dr. Professor Floyd Morris sat on the think tank group because we had several think tank groups. Um, I'm all about the Disability Act, and we chaired the Disability Act think tank group, Disability Act Laws, Human Rights Convention, and we spoke about the importance of the Caribbean embracing and implementing the Disability Act. We're grateful for Dr. Floyd Morris, who have laid the foundation, the groundwork, the structure of how each country can implement the Disability Act. We had in the room Belize, who just signed on and enacted their Disability Act. And they were able to tell us how they did it. And again, coming out from Belize was they worked with the civil society and the government together to ensure that, they put this act in place, because without legislation, you could have all the policy in the world, but there is no legislation with teeth to say, listen, you cannot build your building and don't have accessible ramps, bathroom, enough space for a wheelchair to go through. All the accessibility that you're supposed to, but you can't do it if you don't have no law, no legislation. And that's what we were talking about. And it was really good because one of the things it combines today, report from the Caribbean Development Bank, the assessment and report that they did with the four countries, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and Grenada. Those were the four countries that they did the assessment, and it was done with the University of the West Indies. Um, Dr. Bailey and many others, they were there giving us the report, what people say. One of the report was somebody took a bus, a disability person with an amputee, but the driver pushed them up quick, get on the bus, not realizing that, persons with disability, you have to put them certain way. We also look at where is the designated seat for persons with disability. So I'm so happy a lot came out of the conference for the 2 days, and today is the last day when we talk about implementation, Dervan, because in the Caribbean, all we do is pure report, and then 10 years after, we not seeing nothing being done. And in the room, persons even ask questions to UWI and CDB. But we heard about this 3 years ago. What is happening? So we're so glad that today we're creating the Caribbean Disability Network with a resolution. We are reviewing all what discussed in the think tank, because we had think tank groups. We had 5 think tank groups. Mental health, crucial worldwide. Disability Acts, Law and Human Rights Convention, barriers to inclusion. What are some of the barriers that are there preventing inclusivity for persons with disability? And advocate and awareness, advocacy and awareness, which is so crucial.
Speaking of
Persons.
advocates, sorry, I just saw.
Huh?
No, I'm saying. Speaking of advocates, I just saw Dr. Nelson trying to get on the call. Are you there now, Dr. Nelson? Hello? All right, maybe we could try to get her back on the line. And uh, Andrew Sharp, are you still there?
Still here.
Okay, not sure. I think perhaps Dr. Nelson wanted to get on. Well, so
Sometimes
the
it's the
call
connection,
dropped.
probably where she's at, the connection.
Yes, that's her trying to get back on right now, actually. Okay, need to, let's see if we can make it work. Dr. Nelson?
Yes.
Okay, good. And Mr. Sharp? Did we lose him? Or did we? Hold on, let's see. Let's see if we can get Andrew Sharp back on. Are you there, Andrew Sharp? No, we'll.
No, he's not here.
Okay.
I
All
I
right.
can try add him back.
All right. Go ahead. You can go ahead, Dr. Nelson, while we make the connection. Let's see. Okay.
Yes, there.
Okay.
All right.
Good morning, Andrew Sharp.
Good morning, Dr. Nelson.
Good morning, Mr. Malcolm.
Good morning, Dr. Nelson. Good to have you on board. How has the conference been for you?
For me, I'm just really, really, really moved. I'm excited. I'm hopeful. You know, my first experience working with the community, disabilities community, was when I was employed at the IDB, and I elected to take some money that was going to be sent back to, to the donor to do a project with disabilities. And it was just really an enriching experience to meet some of the people I found to be very, it's what I call personal courage. And Senator Floyd Morris was one of those people. I found this story very inspiring, of his teenage years going blind. And I think, saw him as somebody to be emulated in terms of facing your fears and doing something with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so to meet him in these terms and to hear him speak, as a well-established, internationally known expert on this space is a wonderful thing. Yeah. And then we have really a good coming together in terms of the CDB's research that they're doing and funding with the University of West Indies doing some research. And just to see that Authentic Kevin Foundation, as a small NGO from the diaspora, has been able to just stay the course and do what we can from overseas to support. I'm really, 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 really feeling enriched by this process, because sometimes you get discouraged, you're working, and because you not have a lot of funding, you find it hard to stay the course. But Andrew really has stayed the course, and we're now seeing the fruits of his labor. And this is really just a punctuation mark, because I think now we're going to see a revitalized advocacy movement among people with disabilities. I think this one is important. We've got to get the stigma erased, and I think that's one of the most important things, to organize them into a fighting force. And I feel that is what we're going to leave here with by the end of today, a fighting force.
Yes. And how common have you found the subject matters to be at this conference? And
Well,
when
for me, because I've worked with these groups before. I mean, I remember one of the projects I think I did there's two projects. One was a regional project, and then one was a local project in Jamaica. And I remember that local project. I was just very frustrated because, I was trying to get the people at Edna Manley to just do a little bit extra to do in terms of training. I wanted them to become more aware of the fact that we had organizations that had people with the skills, they were trained to do the skills. All they needed was ongoing support in terms of design. Design changes, but there was no interest. There was like an apathetic, and I find that has not changed in many ways. And so it's a common in the sense that it's still to me too common that there's an apathy, a lack of sensitivity, a lack of attention. And I know that many of these countries are, not financially flush, so to speak. So maybe there's some things that really are beyond the means. But there's things like healthcare, for example. I mean, even regular people have a problem getting good healthcare, quote unquote, in our countries. But the stigma and the attitude, and I think those things, the common statements of people in the room talking about just being treated as if they were other or they're less than, those stories really need to be mentioned. We got to see a difference in this. And by 6 years, I think we can make a big difference if we're very, very focused, laser focused on the stigma issue. That's, I think, something that we, the people, we in media, we in communities, we in churches, we have to do something about that. We have to change how we view God's people and treat them very differently.
Indeed. One moment, please. We need to take a break. Thanks.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
15 minutes to 7 o'clock in the morning here at Broadcast House 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica, which means it's 12:45 p.m. in London, England.
Farmers, have you been losing the battle against fungal diseases? We have a golden solution for you. Metazeb Gold, a double-action fungicide against a wide range of common fungal diseases such as downy mildew, late blight, early blight, Phytophthora root rot, and many more. Win the fight against fungal attacks by applying Metazeb Gold. Be safe. Read your label. Wear your PPE. Metazeb Gold fungicide, distributed by Caribbean Chemicals and available at farm stores island-wide.
Wherever you go, shine. In tribute to Jamaicans in the diaspora, wherever you go, you shine. You make us proud. Despite our challenges at home, you never give up on us. Our sincere thanks. Wherever you go, shine. You need to know. Shine. Anything you want to be.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on the Jamaican Diaspora Live Online on Power 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm, and we've been featuring some of the stakeholders in this very significant conference and getting feedback in that regard. So it's the Caribbean Disability Conference that we've been and still are involved in right now, looking at critical issues of inclusion and empowerment. This is the inaugural Caribbean Disability Conference and let's see if we can continue with some more. Where shall we go next?
Well, I'm not sure how much you have heard about some of the other things that we have been talking about. One of the things that in the design process, I think Andrew and his team did very differently is they really had a participatory approach. And it's something I think we certainly, I consider myself his godmother, right? So
Yes.
certainly, we certainly have been talking about this approach, and COVID really heightened a lot of things we did in terms of diaspora. My goal as the godmother of many diaspora leaders is to convert them into from charity dispensers to development directors, right? And I think Andrew really learned the lesson well because I always have been active. So you sit on a barrel and then what? When we get old, what's going to happen to these people? We've got to really get to the root of the matter and provide them with skill sets and opportunities to grow their own advocacy, to grow their own ability to do for self. And that's the empowerment piece is all a huge piece of this conference. And so in the design, Andrew was able to pull together a core group into a think tank that has been meeting for weeks, months, talking about what they need to do. And it's a small group, and even for ourselves in Washington, we have kept a very small group of us and he's on those calls on Wednesday night. Sometimes some of us fall asleep on the call talking to ourselves. It's a small group of us who meet most on Wednesday nights. In this instance, we're focusing on the vote, right, in the US, which is central to everything. But in his case, his weekly meetings have been focused on planning for this conference. And you can tell the difference because when people walk up, they already have met virtually and been working virtually. So we don't lose time in terms of, suspicion about what that one is saying. And so there's a certain openness and a certain trust, which is critical in terms of how we create the value system that we need to create creative futures. I mean, we're talking about this. I'm bringing up this issue because Jamaica has this distinguished leadership in the recent Summit of the Future in New York. It was a UN Summit of the Future. It was a huge global conversation for the last 2 years about who we as humans have to become and leaders and countries and nations if we're to make it as a species across this chasm of opportunities to fail in the next couple of years. And looking at the SDGs and our failure to launch. And for Jamaica in particular, I must say, Vision 2030, I have a very sore point and sore relationship with the leaders of the PIOJ, for example, for failing to launch Vision 2030 in a way that created the participation, the participatory leadership we wanted to see coming out of the communities that are there, the CBOs on the ground, the NGOs, the whole plural society, academia, everybody, the churches. These are part of what we call the plural society. And so I'm gladdened that Jamaica was selected by the UN to head the section on the future generations. And so Andrew and those are the people who have been coming along with me to some of these global spaces are taking their lessons back now from the global movements and putting it into our diaspora work and being ourselves, changing and transforming ourselves to become better architects and advocates for the communities we serve, even as diaspora. And so I can see how that has filtered into the way some of the people in the room who have been on those calls are responding and using these UN things that our governments have signed in different ways. And so I'm really, really proud and pleased to see this improvement in our own leadership as advocates for various marginalized communities, whether it's disability or food or woman or gender, oceans in my case, and space, my two pet topics, right? Ocean and space. I really am happy to see that we ourselves are growing. And I want to say for any diaspora person who is listening, we really want to welcome you into the community called the Institute of Caribbean Studies. It's an open space for us as social entrepreneurs to exchange lessons, learn from each other, and help each other through our own dark nights of soul when it's very hard for us to decide if we really want to push through or can't figure out the bill is going to be paid for some event we did. So yeah, it's just been this has been a very good time for all of us who are advocates to just be here together in community, in solidarity.
Mm-hmm. And
Dervan,
yes.
I just want to say special thanks to Dr. Claire Nelson. When I met Dr. Claire Nelson and heard of her vision and, having my foundation and organization, and I really wanted to make change. And she worked along with me. We have to give Dr. Nelson the credit. She's been there as a champion for change, ensuring that the Caribbean is not left out, and to be able to learn about policies. One of the things, Dr. Nelson, that I brought to this conference was the white paper that we worked on, the U.S. Caribbean Strategic Plan, where we worked on the white paper with the State Department. So I really want to say hats off. Thanks a lot in believing in us. And you are a model of leader, teaching others how to lead and not to be selfish and hold on to power and not transforming. So thank you again, Dr. Nelson.
You're most welcome, my beloved.
All right, so we're going to leave it right there for the time being. So that was the cap, Dr. Nelson.
Yes, sir. Of the conference, but not of the things that we have been working on in the diaspora, such as the Summit of the Future and what we're trying to do in the future, and what we've been doing at Soca the Vote. Every Wednesday night we talk about the election. Those of you who are in the US know, and we have a very fascinating Jamaican community. We have 3 distinct camps. We have the Camelot camp. We have the trumpets, as I call them, and then we have those who are sitting on the fence, waiting for that which I know, that which they would just pick a side, and know exactly where we're going. And it's just very fascinating as an observer of what I call processes and being a futurist. There's many conversations in my community of futurists as to different paths America might take and how this might evolve in 20 years. We have, in this space we call different scenarios that we're kind of thinking through and playing. And so for many of us, it's like the scenario is going to be very dark, quite frankly, if we have a return to the past. We go back, if you will, to a white supremacist ideology and way of living. Project 2025 is very clear. So it's foremost for many of us in the diaspora. In the US, I'm not sure what the people in the UK are worried about right now, but I know in the US, a lot of people are obsessed and just really focused in on this thing. But apart from that, of course, life goes on. And I have to just say a big shout out to Jamaican Ministry of Foreign Affairs for hosting my organization, my professional organization, which as a futurist, I do something called the Futures Forum. And we're able to use the consulate in New York to host an event on the margins of this UN summit I'm talking about, to talk about the future. And we focus largely on educating people to be what we call futures literate, which we would love to see happen in Jamaica for sure. And we also did sessions on space and sessions on the ocean. So that's some of the things I've been up to as a diaspora. And we worked together with people in Jamaica like Odin Brooks, Janine Shepherd, Maria Goldberg, some others, but those 2 in particular, Janine, Tanya, Babu, were all part of a process I call the Caribbean Parliament of the Future. And so that was a very exciting and interesting process to begin to engage some of these young leaders to use futures thinking methodologies to begin to construct possible preferred futures for the Caribbean region. So it was a very interesting process, and I'm really happy to share with the audience and get more people involved in these processes.
And Dervan, I just wanted to let the audience know that they could still join us on the last day. Because the conference is virtual, they still can join us. Um, just go and register on Caribbean Disability Conference .org to get more information on the conference. And I'm so happy that today myself and Dr. Nelson, we're going to conclude with the Caribbean Disability Network, a fresh group, to move the agenda forward for implementation. We also finalizing the draft white paper with what came out of the conference for the past 3 days, and then chart the future for the next 2 years to come back to a different country in the Caribbean to host the event where we look at how it has been, implementation has happened, where we are and where we're going next. As what Dr. Nelson said, it's all about the future, what the future we want for our community, what the future we want. We know that there's no new technology in AI. Um, we have devices now being created for access and all of those. So we're going to see where are we in the region now, and the goal, one of the goal we set out, and Dr. has talked about the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal. We set a goal that 90% of the Caribbean country should have their Disability Act. Inclusive education is also important. We spoke about not holding on to special education. Yes, we'll have special education, we'll have special school for those because it's not everyone. But you know, having some of those words, using some of those terminology is a barrier and a stigma. So inclusive education is the trust coming out of the conference. And education in itself is needed across the region, in many sectors. And we even talked about disaster preparedness.
One moment on that
How,
score, please. We need to take a break. One moment, please.
yeah.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
7 o'clock in the morning here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica, which means it's 4 o'clock in the morning in Anchorage, Alaska.
Here is a financial literacy tip from your friends at Power 106 FM. Educate yourself. Take charge of your financial future and read a few basic books on personal finance. It is helpful to develop a basic investment vocabulary. It's also important to understand some basic investment principles such as risk and reward and asset allocation. Once armed with knowledge, don't let anyone take you off track. Whether a significant other who encourages you to waste money or friends who plan expensive trips and events you can't afford. Research professionals like financial planners, mortgage lenders, or accountants before utilizing their services. Wherever you go, in tribute to Jamaicans in the diaspora, wherever you go, you shine. You make us proud. Despite our challenges at home, you never give up on us. Our sincere thanks. Wherever you go,
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on the Jamaican Diaspora Live Online on Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. Going to the break a short while ago, Andrew Sharp, you mentioned disaster preparedness.
Right, and how education is crucial in the preparation of disasters. persons being counted, and most of the time they leave out the disability community. They're not able to know what's going on because there's no ASL interpreter, there's no material being passing out. So we came out of the importance of educating, creating the community emergency response team training for persons with disability. And I'm telling you, Dervan, I'm so much empowered, and I'm so moved. I'm excited. Finally to see changes is on the way, and changes has started in terms of pulling all of persons across the region who are doing great work, but also working in silos. So the movement, as Bob's movement of Ja people,
Mm-hmm.
that's what is happening. The movement and the changes must happen. We at the conference we tired of the talk, we tired of the report, and now we're moving ahead for changes, working along, building the capacity, strengthening our civil society, or NGOs and CBOs to move forward for change. And I echo the call for those who are out there who want to come on board. It's important, and especially those other disability organizations reach out, join the network. We're moving forward with one voice. So, on issues that affect you, you'll have the backative of this Caribbean Disability Network, where we'll be able to strengthen you and strengthen the capacity. Um, One of the things too is the advocacy. How do you advocate? It's not just only bashing the government, it's also writing, it's also, and if it gets real bad, then we have to placard and those kind of things. One of the things that we saw in New York when we was at the Summit of the Future, we were going up to United Nations conference, and we passed a building where there were persons of disability with their placard silently protesting how they need access, elevator access. And that was a big impact. So we have to teach them how to advocate for themselves, how to empower themselves. So I'm excited. Join us, www.caribbeandisabilityconference.org. Today you still can come online, stream online, and the importance is no one is left out. You're able to come online and hear the event, and also join the Caribbean Disability Network as we move forward to transform the lives of persons with disability in the region. Dervan, we already have countries reaching out to us to host the next conference. So
Oh,
this is how powerful it has been. And I'm really excited to have Dr. Claire Nelson with me, who saw the vision and instruct me to just continue, keep focus. And that's what I've been doing, focusing on persons with disability, kids with disability, and connecting it to the pillars of the U.S. Caribbean strategy: education and health, better health care, and an educated nation. Moving forward, as the Right Honorable Marcus Garvey said, up you mighty nation, accomplish what you will.
yes, indeed. Thank you so much for spending the time to play your part as the conference discusses matters pertinent to persons with disabilities and sort of building out the awareness and other elements that are key to a society that where which is inclusive, where nobody is left behind. So we trust that this 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 conference would have resulted in a giant of a leap
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yes, yes.
definitely.
Mhm.
And she mentioned New York to go back to, because Andrew has to run to set up for today as
Okay.
the head in charge. I just wanted to just echo the fact that we're talking about this October, for example. In a few days, we're gonna have Heroes Day in Jamaica, and I just reflect on when you mentioned Marcus Garvey, the lessons that we learn
Mhm.
when we take the stories of our heroes seriously. You know, we take these stories seriously. We see them not just as something that happened in a fantasy, but we see them as real living people with flaws and faults, but nonetheless we're able to find their purpose. And everybody has a purpose. And I really wish that this Heroes Day we could really do something different in terms of asking people to look at the Jamaica they want and find their purpose in co-creating that. We spend too much time thinking about what the political elite are doing, and yes, they should be held accountable. They should be held accountable, not to be fawned over and seen as demigods in their own right, because none of them are without fault, right? But we need to see ourselves as the leaders to which they are servants, and take Heroes Day and our other national holidays, Independence Day, Emancipation Day. As a matter of fact, I'm so hurt to hear that the PSOJ, Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, has been campaigning to ministry, to people in elected officials to kind of turn Emancipation Day and Independence Day into a weekend festival. Is this what we have come to? Is this what we've come to as a nation? That Sam Shah should have laid down his blood. Paul Bogue would have laid down his blood. William God would have laid down their blood for us to be a free society. And is this what we're coming to? Is this how unaware the people who are living in glass houses on the top of the hills looking down at the masses, or unaware they are of the suffering of the people when they think about the price of a chicken in Jamaica? Are you serious? We have not yet been emancipated. Emancipation is still coming. And so I just want to say this to any Jamaican, any Jamaican in diaspora, and Jamaican who is listening right now. We have to now double down to advocate to make sure that no minister, no MP slip and slide when it comes to things like Emancipation Day and Heroes Day. We have to make sure they understand that these stories are not just stories in a book. It's just stories that were lived by our ancestors, and we will not sell our ancestors again. There's no reason why reparations not making no sense. How can we talk about reparations and talk about doing away with Emancipation Day or folding into some festival, some carnivalesque display? No, it cannot work. And so, as I like to tell my friends, and they laugh, and I say, anyhow they go on that road, I'm coming back home and come to take over the country. That is my threat. I say that, and of course my friends laugh and say, go write a play, go sit down and write a play. So I might just have to write a play about my silent coup. But seriously, and those of you who have been around long enough know that I used to be a playwright. I guess once a playwright, still a playwright. And my hit play, Resident Alien, made many Jamaicans enjoy some merriment at the expense of the shenanigans of the characters I create in my head. So clear the MP of the future. We'll come and wage war. We inherit the copy of Nanny and come back and teach them a lesson. But seriously, when we hear that Jamaica, and this is how people don't tie things together, Jamaica was selected to run a session on the Declaration of Future Generations and some of the future, which is talking about the fact that all nations have to pay attention to the fact that we must involve young people in our processes. We must think about the second and third order consequences of our decisions. And right now, we can see where we are reeling from the fact that we did not think about the second and third order consequences of our decisions. We did not include young people in a proper way in the Vision 2030 processes back when we started these processes. And so many young people in Jamaica, and the polls show it, have no confidence in Jamaica's ability to provide to them the preferred vision of the future they want to live in. And so I do think and do believe that we can turn around this thing. But diaspora, you've got to move away from selling home barrels as charity and see yourself as partners with the community leaders on the ground who are working hard to do things. And one of the people I met at the Summit of the Future was a lady whose name that escapes me right now. But anyway, she does the corner library project. And as a project I have heard about, and I was so happy to meet her there in the halls of the United Nations. And we sat down and had a good chat about what she has learned, how she has grown from her relationship with the men in the corner, and them talking to her about what they want and how they've been able to broker a relationship where they do their part and she does their part in helping them to get what they want. And we want to challenge diaspora people to support community leaders that are doing things like the corner library, like Operation Restoration, like mustard seed homes, like Grace Amazing Soup Kitchen. We want to turn that soup kitchen from as a feeding space to a farm. We've got to create an urban farm where people understand that they can grow things. I see people in those pictures coming who look able-bodied to me. And so disabilities and even disabled people in wheelchairs can plant gardens. We can have waist-level, tabletop-sized gardens where they can grow things. We've got to stop this making people into mendicants and psychopaths waiting for a handout. That's what Garvey, our national hero, despised the most of all. And so we've got to live like Garvey would have wanted us to live. Live like how Sam Shah would have wanted to live. So this Heroes Day, people, let us take it up a notch and make sure that we send a strong message to the government. And the government meaning the government in leadership, in power, and the government in opposition, because this idea that the opposition is not part of the government. We got to stop that foolishness. No, that's the next thing.
Hold one moment. Let's come back to that in a moment, please.
Yes.
7:15 in the morning here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica, which means it's 8:15 a.m. in Boston, Massachusetts.
Tune into Power 106 FM for Power and Glory every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Power and Glory with the extraordinary Alfie McKenzie. Join us for the inspired word and reflections, as well as soul-stirring gospel music every Sunday with Alfie McKenzie from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Power and Glory on Power 106 FM, the Power 106 FM app, One Spot Media, and go-jamaica.com. Join us every Sunday for Indian Talent on Parade with Dr. Winston Dolan from 5 to 6 p.m. Listen and learn all you need to know about the Indian community, culture, and music. That's Indian Talent on Parade with Dr. Winston Dolan, 5 to 6 p.m. every Sunday, right here on Power 106 FM and the Power 106 FM app.
In tribute to Jamaicans in the diaspora, wherever you go, you shine. You make us proud. Despite our challenges at home, you never give up on us. Our sincere thanks. Wherever you go, shine. You need to know.
We continue to play our part in the Caribbean Disability Conference and its attendant issues. And going to the break, it was pointed out by Dr. Nelson that we unfortunately, some of us have become so divisive, you know, and who is first in the kingdom, as they would say, etc., etc. So, Dr. Nelson.
Yes, I was here. What I was just talking about was the issue of here is this, sir, and the fact that people behave as if to say the opposition. I hate that word opposition. We don't use that in America. I wish we could find a proper another term for it in Jamaica and in the parliamentary systems, because it has led to a lot of foolishness in the country. And we have got to really come up with a new term for the 21st century, because both the government, the party that is in, let's say, in the leadership seat, and the party that's in waiting, that serves as a counterbalance, right, need to be held accountable for their roles. If you are not in the leadership seat as a party and you are there as an MP, you're there to show up to events, you're there to go out to your constituency, you're there to ensure that the business of governance of the people you represent continue to happen, whether or not you are in the title or seat or as the thing. In America, we call it the ranking member of this. So you have the chair is the person as the party in power. So in the case of America right now, in the House of Congress, you have the Republicans who are in the chairs of the committees, and the head of the other side, the Democrats, is called a ranking member. Right, and they're not called an opposition, right? But there's a ranking member. So the people who hold the chair in this case in Jamaica are the JLP, and the ranking members of these committees in the Jamaican context is the PNP. And they're both to be held accountable for the foolishness that happens sometimes in Jamaica. Because if you have an MP that's not watching and speaking out as to what is happening or not happening in government, then we the people need to know. That's why you were elected, to represent our interests, whether or not you're in the chair or you're just a ranking member in a committee. So I think these are ideas we need to start to explore as Jamaica talks about constitutional reform. We're not ready for constitutional reform as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I know the Queen is gone, and now there's supposedly a king, but this king is not really no king of Jamaica in reality. It's just a piece of paper. And yes, people are going to start attacking me now and come on the phone and say, I don't know nothing. It's true, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know much of the legalities of this thing. But we know at the end of the day, right now, there is too much insecurity around the role of the members of parliament, the role of how it is we as citizens can make complaints and be heard, the role of the security forces and the role of the courts and the courts' ability to protect our rights as citizens, the role of institutions that look at government and the transparency of government. There's too many things that we are not clear about that needs to be held up for public conversation and consultation, and must include a futures approach. We need to take this to the schools, and all those young people who are now in the youth parliament across Jamaica, in different organizations, the Girl Scout, the church, the Rotaracts, etc., the Interacts, all these young people who are considered leaders, ought to be part of a process of doing a parliament of the future at the local level, and really thinking through some of the challenges we're going to face as AI and other technologies become what is their norm. It's not my norm and your norm, Dervan, because we're born from a different era, but that's their norm. And so they have to be at the table, helping us make decisions now about the policies that are going to govern us. So this is, for me, very serious. Whether we're talking about Jamaica, Grenada, where I'm sitting right now, or the US, to come back to the US, where I do have a vote. I don't have a vote in Jamaica. I don't need to have a vote in Jamaica. People saying, oh, diaspora should vote. And yes, and some diaspora people attack me. Why you say we shouldn't vote when we're selling home money to keep things going? Okay, I agree, but are we going to be able to do it in a way that is free and fair? And if you want to vote that badly right now, why not go home and register, get a house and register and vote? Because at the end of the day, the reason why Americans vote wherever they are, because they pay taxes wherever they are. This is why they can vote wherever they are. If you're not paying taxes in Jamaica, yes, you're supporting your family, and it's valuable. And this is why we do have a right to speak. And so it's a kind of a double-edged sword. You have to be very pragmatic. People who say diaspora should not say anything. People in Jamaica who stay there and say, you Jamaican, you not say you're gone and left us. We are doing a lot for Jamaica. We are supporting our families. We are, some of us, organizing, supporting our high schools, the hospitals. We do a lot from where we are. And we carry a lot of weight. Jamaica would not be doing as well as it's doing if the social safety net of diaspora taking care of their families was not there. Let us be frank. But we should not, as diaspora, be taking any particular political party side, quite frankly. Because at the end of the day, our responsibility is to operate almost like a third party to defend the rights of the people. Because sometimes the people in Jamaica cannot speak for themselves because they work in an institution where if they speak, they might lose their job. This is a reality on the ground. So, people might say, oh, I'm a fence sitter in this case. Yes, I'm a happy fence sitter when it comes to Jamaica. I'm not going to pick a side for any party because my side in Jamaica is the side of the people, the bad juice man, right, who's out there in the hot sun trying to sell water to make a living. This is the reality as I see it. So Jamaica itself, perhaps it looks like they're coming up with an election soon. I see movement, but not sure if it's going to be a snap election or what. But we see all this political conversation happening. I'm assuming it's going to be election. We know our date in America. We don't know the date for Jamaica. But I also invite people, everybody listening. I want you all to start having conversations, public conversation. What is the Jamaican you want? It's like we have to be having conversations. What is the America we want? And the Jamaicans in diaspora are divided. As I said, we have the Trumpists, we have the Trump supporters, right? We have a lieutenant governor of Jamaican heritage who's a very strong Trump supporter in Virginia. We have somebody in Washington, D.C. who's running for shadow Congress member in D.C. who's a strong Trump supporter. This is the reality. And when I ask the one I know in D.C., for example, why? And ask her, like, why? Why? I don't understand. And this is somebody who doesn't pay his bills. Who's a billionaire that doesn't pay your bills. How can a billionaire not pay your bills? Forget about his politics. The personality. How can you not pay your bills? And she looks at me and she says, he's a nice guy. So I'm just saying, we have some serious challenges dealing with. And here we have people, and I must tell of one I think that irritates me, another Jamaican says, this Candace Owens, for example, she needs a bush bat. Why is she spending all her time trying to discover if Donald Harris is black or white, or his grandmother? She don't know how come his grandmother, she can't find the marriage papers and all. Why? And making all kind of remarks about Jamaican life that she doesn't understand. Well, Candice, for your information, many people have outside relationships, they have common law marriages, right? You don't ask nobody. Do you know any Jamaicans you could have asked before you open your big mouth and put your foot into it? And why does it matter so much if Kamala Harris, the focus is on our Indian heritage? Jamaica, we have a lot of Indians who came as indentured servants. Somebody need to invite Candace Harris onto a radio show in Jamaica so people can ask her, because I think she's just gone too far in digging out Professor Harris's quote unquote. Yes, Kamala Harris needs to be quote unquote, but not on the basis of if she's black or white and if her family was rich or poor than Dr. Harris. It's just too far, and it's just very distasteful the lengths to which they will go to discredit somebody on the basis of color. You have to tell people Jamaica has a lot of admixtures. Yes, she may not be close to her father. How many Jamaicans that is a distant problem? It's common for us in Jamaica. I'm not close to my father. If I was to become the president of anything, you probably wouldn't hear me talk about my father. I didn't grow up with my father. Do I know my father? Yes. Do I have a relationship with my father? Yes, but it's not like the one I had with my mother, who grew me. For many Jamaicans, it's your grandmother. So if Dr. Harris says it's his grandmother he's close to, why is Candace Harris puzzled and stirring up people in America who are so ignorant of other people's lives, right? That they can't even turn to a Jamaican they know. I would presume most Americans know a Jamaican or know of a Jamaican unless you live in the far reaches of Montana or somewhere, right? But my point is, these are the things that just are just irritating those of us in the Jamaican diaspora in America right now. This overreaching into Jamaican culture and stupidity of what Candice Owens is saying. It's a real disappointment to see her so misread the Jamaican culture and mispronounce Bustamante, you know, and then calling him and saying he was a shady character because he went to Cuba and brought back communism to Jamaica. Really, Candice? Have you ever tried to join a line in Jamaica? Communists? Jamaica? Do you really look at Jamaica and think we are that subdued a people? I mean, we might be heading there in a different way, not in communism, but in the form of, you know, fascist right-wing takeover of our countries in the Caribbean. Because if indeed we have a Project 2025 style government in America, we might end up having one in Jamaica and other places as well, where people don't have the rights to speak anymore, where the police force is used as a internal security force for those in power. Is this what we want in Jamaica? Is what we want in America? And black Jamaican men, of all things, talking about they're going to wait and see, when half of them were grown up by their mothers, excuse me, and not voting for her because she's a woman? Really? Come on, guys. Come on. And that's not to say that all mothers are perfect and all Jamaican women are perfect and all Jamaican women have never done anything bad and some of them have never harmed their children. Of course, we know there are mothers in the Jamaican story that have been on the other side. But the reality is that Jamaica, it has a large maternal matriarchal society and capacity to lead. And we know where none of us would be if we didn't have mothers who fathered us. And this is our reality. Candice always need to understand that. The Mass Oscar and Mr. Christie, that is how we would have called our stepfather in that era. There's no daddy this and daddy that in that culture of Jamaica. We come from a harsh history.
One moment, please.
That's why we're where they are.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
7:30 in the morning here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica, which means it's 8:30 a.m. in, let's go to Boston, Massachusetts.
The Bible Speaks. 30 minutes of vitalizing motivation grounded in the Word of God. The Bible Speaks, showcasing soothing spiritual music from across the world. It's The Bible Speaks with Reverend Dr. Aaron Damas every Sunday from 6:30 to 7 a.m. here on Power 106 FM and the Power 106 FM app.
In tribute to Jamaicans in the diaspora, wherever you go, you shine. You make us proud. Despite our challenges at home, you never give up on us. Our sincere thanks. Wherever you go.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on the Jamaican Diaspora Live Online on Power 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm, and we've been engaged in discussions from the conference focusing on disability awareness and related matters, and discussions in terms of the politics and other developments. So it's quite a comprehensive and involved approach. So, Dr. Nelson, where's the
Yes, sir.
where's the hope coming from?
Where's the hope coming from? Well, I think the hope has to come first of all by our trust in God, right? And I mean, I really have been questioning myself as a woman of faith. I've been questioning God. What are we really looking at? What are we looking at? You know, you come out of a pandemic. First of all, you go into a pandemic, and for those of us who didn't live through the polio epidemic, for example, it would have been new to us, a total global shutdown. But it's a difference because now we were literally shut down in a way that maybe even the people back then were not, because the world didn't move as fast. We were not as intertwined. And so we come out of this global pandemic as a new creature. You know, we have learned what it is to live in existential fear over a long period of time. We've learned what it is to live disconnected from our loved ones, not being able to touch people, not being able to see faces, having to live behind walls. And we come out into this world, and then people say, okay, we have to do something different. And so the Summit of the Future is born. And as a futurist that began working as a futurist and thinking professional as a futurist maybe around 20 years ago now, 24 years ago actually, 2024, that's how long it is since I've gotten into this space. I've just been on my spiritual side really questioning and say, God, is this what the Bible was talking about? Are the people who are the Pentecostal born again Christians right when they say, you know, these are the end times? Because surely, you know, surely we have to change as a species. You know, we really have the power to self-destruct in so many ways, whether it be artificially induced pandemics or, you know, using viruses to spread a weapon, bio weapons, or AI that can take over machinery in ways which are insidious. It's just so many ways, you know, in which we can do harm to God's creation. And so for me to have hope, I get up every morning and I pray and I say, God, just give me the courage to do today. I have a vision that I want to continue to be of support to people of the African diaspora wherever they are. I want to continue to be of support to people from small island developing states around the world, from Cabo Verde on the west coast of African continent to Mauritius on the southern eastern tip of the African continent, up to the Maldives, across to Fiji, and those countries in the global south physically, right, where people live dispersed and across oceans. And when I had an occasion to go to Fiji, I remember one person saying, oh, they admire Jamaicans so much because we're so assertive, and they wish they could be more like Jamaicans and assert themselves. And I literally cried, you know, that people had this vision of Jamaicans as being fighters for the good of the whole. And I take out our national pledge some mornings and I read it, because that national pledge that says, you know, who we are, that teaches us as Jamaicans to think about not just doing for self, but to do what we can to ensure Jamaica plays her part in advancing the whole human race. This is who we are. And so I lean back, I do a sankofa, as they say in Ghana, I go back to fetch things like the National Pledge to give me hope, if that makes sense to you. You know, you read the National Pledge and you feel there are others, not just Jamaicans doing good work, but there are others out there doing what we can. And surely good must prevail over evil. Surely goodness and mercy will follow I all the days of our life. So I try to use those spiritual things to give me hope. And I think those of us who are out there in the trenches, right? I see that Lorna Beck, one of the warriors in South Carolina, is out there. We're out there in the trenches doing the work that we can to build community. And so that's what gives me hope.
Mhm. And what of the children? Is it a case that they are already out there fending for themselves, or is it an opportunity to engage in discussions?
I definitely see an opportunity. One of the reasons why we are launching the Caribbean Futures Forum, Caribbean Development Foresight Institute was the first organization I launched in Jamaica back in 2010, 2011, trying to get futures thinking on the table. It didn't quite work out the way I wanted to work out. For one, PIOJ didn't see the value of supporting me to do work in the schools that I had wanted to do then. And I just couldn't figure out a way to do it outside of the system. I was plotting, but it wasn't working. But we're reorganizing as the Caribbean Futures Forum and relaunching the organization. And that, along with Caribbean Space Society, will be two of the ways in which I think I can work directly with student organizations, student clubs, youth organizations, youth directly, to basically transfer some of these ideas about sustainability, futures literacy, that we need to prepare those young leaders in Jamaica who really have the nation at heart. And I say those who have the nation at heart because there are many young leaders in Jamaica as well who are really just patterning themselves after the leaders of the day, which are really in it for themselves. But there are few who really are in it because they win. They want to win not just for themselves, but they want to win for a larger body of people. And so I had an occasion to meet a few of them in the last couple of years, since 2022, when we did the Imagine Jamaica project. I want to shout out Jordan McNeish, for example, at the university, who is now also serving as a student leader. I want to shout out um, Janine Shepherd, for example, who I can always call and say, can you get this done? Can you help me do this? And she's always willing to try and find, some, if she can't, we find some young persons who can do what I've asked for. And so I have hope, like people like them, and Odane Brooks, who was such a powerful speaker at our Caribbean Parliament of the Future, Simulation, Adrian Watson. These are young people who have come to know. I'm not in touch with them every day, but I'm really hoping that they can find each other and work together in new ways to create a mesh, something that can hold their hope, because hope is a fragile thing, and hope is a currency. Hope is a currency that we use to invest our passions, and hope is also the fiber that has to be woven to create this mesh that allows us to build from here to there, from where we're trying to get to. And so for me right now, it's all about trying to get young people involved. And so the Caribbean Futures Forum and the Caribbean Space Society are two institutional instruments. Dominic Campbell, for example, I was one of the young people that is into astronomy in Jamaica, who I've been working with on and off to do things in the space agenda. Tora Simpson, the young people at NCU, who, despite the odds and the challenges, try to keep the Caribbean Space Advocates Club they're going. And it's a lot, it's hard for them because nobody believes in them when they say they're going to, have a Caribbean Space Advocates Club and want to learn how satellites work and want to learn how sensors work and understand how climate change and weather and how we can do smart agriculture and all the things that they have to grapple with and prepare for. So I am definitely for the children and the youth at this point. It's all about investing in that generation, and Jamaica being the host or the co-chair of the Declaration of Future to generations. It is my hope and my vision that I can convince the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to host a global South, if not a global South, even just a small island developing states youth summit in Jamaica. Start small, but get this small island developing states youth. Let's do a summit in Jamaica where we talk about the Declaration of Future generations and bring it home and make it real so that our youth parliament does function as a youth parliament, and all the former members of the Jamaica Youth Parliament and the Barbados Youth Parliament and the Bahamas Youth Parliament can come together to create a Caribbean Parliament of the future that actually spends the time to look out in the future and say, hey, let's not rush to block this river, or let's not rush to dig this new bauxite mine, because guess what? Aluminum prices are not going to increase because there's no substitute for aluminum, or we don't need to do it because we're going to be recycling. So these are things we need to be thinking about. We can't just willy-nilly just do things because it's what we've always done, and expect that we're going to create a better life for our future. So yes, I'm committed to that. I'm excited about that. That also gives me hope. And just calling out those names, the Bible said, count your blessings. I was able to just increase my happy factor this morning, calling out those names of the young people that I find inspiring. And they give me hope to continue to provide a platform for them to express themselves and a platform for them to network and work better together to create the future that we all want to see.
Yes, indeed, they're doing well. I saw on international television Nathaniel Pete promoting his talents and skills and interest, and I was happy to have seen it. So that's another angle from which to approach it in terms of investments and related matters.
Well, yes, because for example, David Mullins has recently rejoined the board of the Institute of Caribbean Studies. He's rejoined the ICS board. I'm happy about. In fact, he'll be the chair of our gala that's coming up in November 15th.
Hold on, tell us about that in just a moment, please. Yeah. 1 moment. 15 minutes to 8 o'clock in the morning here at Broadcast House 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica, which means it's 9:45 a.m. in Hamilton, Bermuda.
Here is a financial literacy tip from your friends at R106 FM. The 50-30-20 rule. Creating a budget can help you make confident decisions and enjoy peace of mind. A detailed budget, though, can be complex to manage. For one easy way to plan your spending, you may try using the 50-30-20 rule. It splits expenses into just three categories and also offers recommendations on how much money to use for each. The 50-30-20 rule recommends putting 50% of your money towards needs, 30% towards wants, and 20% towards savings. The savings category also includes money you will need to realize your future goals. In tribute to Jamaicans in the diaspora, wherever you go, you shine. You make us proud. Despite our challenges at home, you never give up on us. Our sincere thanks.
So, just when we thought you were getting warm, it looks like it's getting hotter now in terms of upcoming events.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, we have We just came out of World Space Week. I didn't do anything, Kevin Space Society, this year for Space Week, but I just want to shout out Jamaican Cheyenne Powell, who lives in UK, one of our young genius, that is about to do her dissertation defense. She's busy writing right now. She was honored at the International Astronautical Congress last year, and she's back there this year as a guest. And I've been texting her saying we need to make sure the Caribbean has a seat. We have an official Caribbean seat in one of those committees, and so it's just refreshing to see that we have young people everywhere and doing great things around the world that are still committed. Someone like her she's young, but she's heading to bigger things, trust me, but still thinking about how can she support Jamaica and make sure that Jamaican young people have access to the STEM education that she has and are able to play their part in the spacefaring society, civilization that we Earthlings are becoming. I can't believe we're beginning to call ourselves Earthlings for real. But we have the opportunity coming up soon. We have our 26th annual Invest Smart Caribbean, and we'll be talking about the blue and green economy. We are certainly open for people who have projects that they want to talk about in Washington, D.C. On the 15th, we have it's very focused on business, and so we're inviting those people who are in the green and blue economy, small and medium enterprises that have new products that they might want to pitch or to share or to exhibit, to consider coming to our event in Washington, D.C., November 14th and 15th, the Invest Smart Caribbean Conference. It's the 26th annual conference. We're very focused in Washington on the conversation with the powers that be, the bilaterals and multilaterals in Washington, AID, OAS, IDB, EICA, World Bank. These are all some of the funding and financial and funding organizations. Our role and remit is to advocate. And so even if you can't come, feel free to, share information. We're going to be posting online soon a link for people to respond to a short poll. So we have some information on what is bothering people. So people in the blue economy, the tourism people, the MPA people, the fisher folk, we really hope we can begin to gather some insight, because no matter who wins this election, and I can't say, I'm not going to call it. I want to call it, but I guess the nervousness that, again, with so many people on the fence. But of course, whoever wins the next election, we have to be ready to advocate, because no matter who wins, we're going to have to advocate. The squeaky wheel gets the grease in America. So we're going to advocate whether our princess is there or, the other person, the trumpet is there. We are going to be having to advocate to ensure that the U.S. Caribbean Strategic Engagement Act, Public Law 114291, is carried out to the full length of it, is where State Department must present to Congress every 3 years. I think they want to make it even every 2 years. Amend the law to state that must present to Congress. Why? Because, we have election every 2 years. A rolling plan as to how they're engaging the Caribbean nations. And one of the things Congressman Engel, who wrote the law, crafted, which was actually taken out in the final version, was that there should be consultation with civil society. So we want to make sure, even though it was taken out, that we do the consultation. So we're going to start putting out these polls for Caribbean people in civil society in the Caribbean, not just Caribbean people in America. We cannot move unless we know what Caribbean people in the Caribbean are feeling, because we don't live here every day. Yes, we come back and forth, but we don't live here. So we need to hear from the farmers and the fisher folk and the SMEs, etc. What are their barriers to entry, so that we ensure that we build inclusive prosperity. So that's what we'll be doing in November. That's what we're prepping for. And, so as it is, we continue to go back and forth in trying to ensure that we build on what our heroes and shearers. And I would like to see a couple more female, even one more female in our shearers list for Heroes Day. A lot of people are saying Miss Lou is a shoe-in. Who knows? Maybe it's Miss Lou. Maybe there's some unknown labor union person that we don't know of, but I definitely want to mention one of my personal shearers. That's Amy Ashford Garvey, that nobody ever remembers. But without her, Marcus Garvey would not have been able to start the UNIA. And so I want to personally give her a shout out on this Hero Shearers Day, that Amy Ashford Garvey was a leader in her own right who defied her parents to run around with Marcus Garvey. It didn't pay off for her in the long run, but she went on to do great things in London, in Ghana, in terms of starting other organizations and supporting various African movements in her lifetime. And she died in Jamaica in 1969. So big shout out to Amy Ashford Garvey as we prepare for National Heroes Day.
Yes, indeed. She rose.
Yes. I have to say, I should leave on Miss Lou because people, up to yesterday, somebody said to me, you remind me of Dr. Louise Bennett Coverley. People say that a lot, that I remind them of Louise Bennett Coverley. And I have to say, it's a compliment for me, totally. And for those of you who know me, those of you who might be listening who know me from primary school, you remember that Mrs. Nelson's daughter, Claire Nelson, stuttered so badly. Really, as we are preparing for my 50th anniversary of the class at St. Jude's, right? 1974 graduating class. And I stuttered very badly most of my life. So people sometimes look at me puzzled, like, how are you speaking so fluently? And I said, remember, even though I stuttered, I was always the person who spoke out against injustice. And when I spoke out against injustice, I was always pretty fluent. So I think I just had to find my voice. And so it is mine to know, is to be the voice of the voiceless. And so you know, as somebody who struggled with speech at one point in my life, I do feel an affinity to people who are struggling with things they can't control, inabilities that they can't control, or disabilities they can't control, and say that, you know, hold on, you can face your fear and do it anyway. So here am I speaking, right? And if you never knew this before, now you know. I'm a recovering stutterer, as I like to tell people. I say recovering because you never know when something might happen. So I'm a recovering stutterer. Every day I thank God for the gift of fluency, but I also have to thank Miss Lou, because many times when I would perform on stage when I was a child and I was fluent, it was because I was pretending to be Miss Lou. So Miss Lou is another personal sharer of mine. I have to thank her for the gift that she gave us of her work. And when Cousin Clara comes out, this is my alter ego, when Cousin Clara comes out to put pen to paper and write a letter to Auntie Girlie, Cousin Mabel, right? And Munchies. In fact, Aunt Shinty be writing right now about the one Candice Owen, she, you know, because she really lost her place for to come put fast herself in a Jamaica business. So we're going to invite Candice down to Jamaica, take her to St. Thomas and give her a bush bath, because most some spirit take her where she can on like that. Anyway, yeah, it's National Heroes Day coming up, people. So just want to remind all of us that we come from a mighty people. We come from a mighty people. And if nothing else gives you hope, just look back on where we have come from, huh? Look back on where we have come from. Contrary to Candace Owens, Bustamante did not go to Cuba and behave shady because she can't find nothing about him and what he was doing in Cuba, and come back to start a communist labor union. The labor movement in Jamaica is what took us out of the dung heap where they cast us in the post-slavery moments, when people with donkey carts were taxed higher than people who had horse and carriage. In the post-slavery moments when some black people had to carry a pass card and were not allowed to travel from parish to parish. These are some of the things we endured. Yeah? So I'm not a historian, but those are the little few bits of history I remember that I carried me to give me hope And so our heroes and cheerers, the unsung ones who marched beside Bustamante and Michael Manley, who marched beside and were executed along with Paul Bogle and Sam Sharp and George William Gordon. Hopefully your descendants know your name and even now light a candle for you and call your name. And so we need to have more spiritual. And I call on the church. I call on the Jamaican church, the Baptist church, the Moravian church, all these churches, those two in particular, that were very much a part of the post-slavery education of the black masses. I'm calling on the Jamaican church to get up and stand up and get too comfortable. You get too comfortable, ministers. You get too comfortable. So I'm calling you out in particular. And if any one minister take umbrage, yes, it's you I'm talking to. I'm challenging you to get up and stand up. And the more with the dispossessed, stand up as a soldier, disciple of Jesus the Christ, and fight and become a hero to the people who you have in your pews every Sunday. Huh? Do a better job, man. Do a better job. I'm calling on you to do a better job. All of you people who are in the church, who are ministers of the gospel of Jesus the Christ. Do better, because you know better. You know Christ, so you know better.
Yes, indeed. So coming back to conference now, that's it. That's it for now.
Well, today is the last day. As you heard, you can join us online. It is live stream, so go to CaribbeanDisabilitiesConference.org and sign up. We're going to be doing a lot of workshopping today. We are going to break out into the think tank groups, looking at different elements. They're going to be tasked with writing a paper and then signing on to join the Caribbean Disability Network, or what I lovingly call the Caribbean Alliance for, what I'm calling it, Caribbean Alliance for Inclusive Resilient. I'm trying to misspell care. Caribbean Alliance for Inclusive Resilient Economy and Society, the CARES movement, right? So, yes, the network will be the CARES movement, Caribbean Alliance for Inclusive and Resilient Economies and Society.
One moment, please. Just a moment.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
8 o'clock in the morning here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica, which means it's 9 o'clock in
Grenada.
There you go. 9 o'clock in Grenada.
And therefore, I must take my leave of you and your lovely audience.
Well, it's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Take care. Have a wonderful day.
Same to you.
for the longest running religious calling program on Jamaican radio, The Prayer Line. Join Pastor Errol Hay and his team as they offer spiritual guidance and intercession grounded in biblical doctrine. Hear powerful testimonies from Jamaica and around the world. The Prayer Line, a source of support and inspiration in these trying times. That's The Prayer Line, Power 106 FM, Sundays at 6:30 p.m. Join us. You shall live, declare the Lord. Amen. You shall be a living testimony. You're on the last side.
Wherever you go,
tribute to Jamaicans in the diaspora. Wherever you go, you shine. You make us proud. Despite our challenges at home, you
Yeah.
never give up on
Mhm.
us. Our sincere wherever you go.
Topic of amalgamating two of our most important um, holidays, public holidays, national holidays that we observe in Jamaica, August 6th and August 1st. Those are very significant days. We observe those days as holidays as they are supposed to be embedded in our consciousness. They're supposed to be celebrated every year on those days, specifically in observance of specific times in our history. 1962 was our independence. 1962, August 6th, 1962. 1838, August 1st, 1838 was emancipation. And that was things. Listen, in 1962, we decided to stop observing emancipation. I did not grow with emancipation in my consciousness because between the time I was born and the 1990s, they did not, Jamaica did not celebrate emancipation. I was very, very happy to hear that we are now have a public holiday to observe and to reflect and to remember the hardship that our ancestors went through. That's
Help us protect Jamaica's borders. Tell us about any illegal guns coming through customs controlled areas. Call Crime Stop at 311. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
8:31 on Power 106.
Are roads a major concern? What about those drains that are in need of repair or cleaning? Who's responsible for repairing my road and when will it be done? Join us this and every Tuesday morning at 8 during Morning Agenda as we travel on our roads with the National Works Agency and get answers to these and other concerns. You're welcome to visit their website at www.nwa.gov.jm. See the tender notices link for projects to be undertaken. You may also call them toll free at 1 888 429 5NWA. That's 1 888 429 5692. Or follow them on Twitter at NWA_JA and Facebook at www.facebook.com/NWA Jamaica. The National Works Agency, developing safe, reliable, and quality roads.
Wherever you go. In tribute to Jamaicans in the diaspora, wherever you go, you shine. You make us proud. Despite our challenges at home, you never give up on us. Our sincere thanks. Wherever you go.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on the Jamaican Diaspora Live Online on Power 106 FM. I am Dervan Malcolm and giving you the opportunity to listen to Leo Gilling of the Jamaica Diaspora Task Force Action Network and his thoughts in relation to the significance of emancipation and independence. And among other things, he says, any thoughts of amalgamating independence and emancipation holidays in Jamaica? So we'll play some of this for you, and we trust that you will find it stimulating and thought-provoking.
it's not a very simple word, hardship. I'm talking about our enslaved ancestors who were enslaved between the years 1500 to 1900. 4 million people
people lost their lives in the Middle Pacific. 4 million, at least 4 million are accounted for through the Middle Pacific. And that was not tough. Okay, you consider people dying, staying down to next to each other like sardines that dying and the stench of death is next to you. And people get thrown over and hung and lynched. And think about that for a minute. Those 4 million people lost their lives for us. Yeah? But then think again about 12.5 million people removed from year 1500 to year 1900 when they were moved from their country, their African country, and brought to the Americas. 12.5 million of us, our ancestors, when they got, when slavery was abolished, abolishment meant that it was now illegal to move people and to sell people and to use people as a business, to sell people as a business. Economics. Yes? Okay. But it did not end for the people who were already enslaved. Emancipation needed to occur. August 1st, 1838 was a significant turning point in our lives. And we should never forget that. Right? We should never forget August 1st. I love independence. I celebrate independence. It was a level of freedom that the country is now observing and growing from. Independence was not just a static word, but it's rather a growth word from 1960. But and so I enjoy my independence, but I have a different type of reflection when it comes to emancipation. And so Emancipation Day, when I wake up Emancipation morning, I read about the trials and struggles of our ancestors. I write a lot about emancipation because I respect that day. It's that day in our history that made us different, that brought us somewhere, someplace else in our lives. And so I don't want to forget it. Um, when we talk about um, slavery, when we talk about slavery, it's not a nice place to think about. I don't even want to think about it because my ancestors have already gone through, and I don't want to go. But I have the memory of the jubilance that they felt in August 1st. So the date is big time. And how should we want to move the celebration and the reflection of such a significant day to a party weekend? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning on the day of your birth? It's a different feeling from every other day throughout the year. There are 364 days in the year. You don't have the same kind of feeling versus when you wake up that morning of your birthday. Totally different feelings. It's like a totally different day from the other 364. Same thing on anniversaries. You keep those in memory because they're special days to you in your life. Same thing with emancipation. Why would we want to move from the observed anniversary date to put these celebrations to use? That don't make any sense to me. Nobody else in the world does that. In America, where I live, 9/11 came in 2001, and we never forget it. 9/11 now is a moniker. 9/11, the word 9/11, the term 9/11. When you say 9/11, everybody remembers what it is. Everybody remembers what it is. There are no asked to set aside the memories of those days so that now we can maximize profits. That is to me is disrespectful. It's disrespectful to our ancestors. It's disrespectful to us because it's it's dumbing us down from remembering our ancestry, remembering our where we're coming from. It's dumbing us down to make us into a party country for those days. That is that is not nice. It's disrespectful to all of us. We should think carefully about about especially when we know that slavery was for money, it was for profits. When we recognize that slavery was for profits, how could we think about taking those days and making them into profit making? I don't support that. And so I'm going to always want to sit back and remember the troubles. Marcus Garvey says we won't get anywhere in our lives without understanding where we're coming from. Our root. And our root is our ancestry, is the enslaved black people who were moved from their country and come to the Americas, including Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. And we should never forget that. We should never forget that. And I feel quite disrespectful for to hear that somebody put that forward. I mean, how could a bunch of people who are Jamaicans, who understand where we're coming from, sit down together and decide that this is what they want to make a proposal? That doesn't make any sense. That's quite disrespectful to me. And I hence my my argument. So I'm very incensed and I'm very passionate about freedom. I'm very passionate about rights, freedom and rights. Freedom is very, very important. My freedom is very, very important. So, um, independence, I can celebrate it all day now. It means a lot to me. But it took us from seeing a lot of uh, people of different color in our country and dictating to us what it is our country is going to be. So when independence came, I'm a happy person. But I also reflect on where I am coming from because I would not have had the opportunity that I get today because I would not feel free. I'd feel colonized. So today I'm free. I'm free on the backs of my ancestors who were enslaved people. I'm free on the backs of my grandparents who were colonized. And I don't want to feel like that is being taken away from me. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Leo Gilling. As we continue with more here on the Jamaican Diaspora Live Online on Power 106 FM.
In tribute to Jamaicans in the diaspora, wherever you go, you shine. You make us proud, Despite our challenges at home, you never give up on us. Our sincere thanks. Wherever you go, you need to know. Shine. Anything you want to be. You give me hope. Shine. Oh, shine like that.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
15 minutes to 9 o'clock in the morning here at Broadcast House 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica.
Here is a financial literacy tip from your friends at Power 106 FM. Save for retirement now. No matter how young you are, plan for your retirement now. With the power of compound interest, when you start saving in your 20s, you will earn interest not only on the principal you deposit, but also on the interest you earn over time. And you
Thanks to you, our faithful listeners and viewers all over the globe, for making it the Jamaican Diaspora Live Online. All things being well, the Jamaican Diaspora Live Online returns next Saturday. Till then, this is Dervan Malcolm reminding all of us that every day is an opportunity to do better than yesterday. Take care.
Thank you for joining the Jamaican Diaspora Live Online with Dervan Malcolm, only on Power 106 FM.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
9 o'clock.
Just great music on 106 FM.
Bye.
Since you came into my life, 'cause I never